Welcome to the Childcare Genius Podcast, the world's #1 community for brilliant childcare leaders. Each episode will feature interviews with the brightest minds in the childcare industry to guide you into becoming a smarter business leader. Our hosts have opened 10 schools while raising 5 children. They are certified business coaches, best-selling authors, and have personally helped thousands of childcare owners around the world achieve incredible growth. Let's welcome to the Childcare Genius Podcast, Brian and Carol Duprey.
Welcome to episode 4 of the Childcare Genius Podcast.
We're your hosts, Brian and Carol Duprey. And before we begin, please hit the subscribe button so you won't miss a future episode.
Now, thank you so much for tuning into the Childcare Genius Podcast. Before we get started, we want to tell you about an amazing offer we have for listeners of our podcast. Here I am sounding like a salesman, don't I? Anyway, we wrote a book last year called Childcare Millionaire Tour Secrets. We've recently rebranded the book and we're releasing it as The Art of the Tour, all about how to create an amazing tour experience for your parents, customers, and how to convert more tours. And we want to give that book to you free. If you live in the continental United States, we'll autograph the book and ship it to you. And all you have to pay is shipping, $4.99, very reasonable. And we will ship that to you. Again, anywhere in the continental United States, just visit childcaregenius.com/books, and we'll get that in your hands today. And you can start increasing your tour conversions tomorrow. Well, maybe not tomorrow. You're not going to get it tomorrow. A couple days later, you'll start increasing.
Our guest on the podcast today is Victoria Lynch. Victoria is the owner of First Discovery Learning Center in Virginia. And Victoria will be discussing how to run your center remotely.
Yeah, and she lives actually in a different state than her centers, and she's able to run the schools effectively in other states. And this will help people, even if you live in the same areas of schools, to be able to delegate and live more, or to be able to visit your schools less, have to be there less often, and be able to get more done because you're not in that program. Yeah. Now, I personally coached Victoria for many years, helping her grow and expand her business. She's an amazing businesswoman and runs an amazing program. So sit back, relax, and get ready to learn from this amazing early childhood leader.
Let's get Victoria on the line.
Hi, Victoria. Welcome to the Childcare Genius Podcast. How are you doing today?
Good. How are you guys doing today?
Oh, great.
Good.
We're so excited to have you on. Victoria, one of my favorite people on the planet. I love talking to you. You're an amazing person. Where are you located?
So right now I'm currently in Georgia. Yeah.
Georgia?
Yeah.
Hot down there, isn't it?
It's very, very hot. Funny you say that. We just got a pool installed and we have a heater for it. We don't need the heater. It's
Gotta heat it.
Like, why do we get a pool heater? No need for it. It's definitely hot here.
That was funny. We were in Orlando last week at a conference, and I was telling him, like, man, it's hot. He goes, yeah, but it's not like Atlanta hot. It's Florida hot. It's not as bad. Yeah. And this hot Atlanta is really sticky. So are you close to Atlanta?
I am probably about 20 minutes from downtown Atlanta. So
you're
right in the mix of things. Yeah.
Soupy down there. We always ask the weather where people are because maybe sometimes we're jealous. And sometimes we're thankful. Most of the time we're jealous.
Don't be too jealous because we're down here like sweating our pants off.
We'll be jealous in the winter.
Right.
In the winter, we're really jealous. You know, you're at 50 degrees and we're 20 below. And you're freezing at 50. If it was 50 degrees, we'd be wearing shorts, and you're like freezing with winter coats.
Yeah, my kid is wearing shorts every day, all year long. I'm like, dude, are you not cold? It's like 40 degrees outside, and they don't care. I'm like, I'm freezing, and he is like, this is what are you talking about?
I don't know what it is with kids. I'm the same way though. I wear shorts year round. If it's 40 degrees outside, I'm wearing shorts. It's warm. I might have a winter coat on, but I'm wearing shorts.
Not me. Not me.
Well, we're going to put you in the hot seat, Victoria, because we want the knowledge you have, some of that knowledge to go to our audience and listeners, because I get questions all the time. How do I not spend so much time in my school? Like my schools own me. Mm-hmm. And we've worked with people that are trying to expand, and they're like, how do I open a second school? If I'm spending 40 to 50 hours a week in my first, in their mind, they're thinking, how do I how do I double my time? How do I spend 40 hours in this school and 40 hours in this school? And you've mastered the art of delegation. And we're going to share, hopefully share your knowledge with our audience so they could help get out of that school so much and learn how to expand their business. So we're going to fire away some questions and we're going to start. Carol's got one to start.
Can you tell us how you got into the childcare business?
Yeah. So it was my mother, actually. She's always been an entrepreneur by trade. She was a hairstylist and she gets bored very easily. So once she's mastered it, she moves on to something else. So one day she was driving and she saw a house that was for sale and it had an in-home childcare center on the bottom. So she purchased the home, moved our family into this house and took over that center. So I was thrust into early childhood then. Over the course of 2 years, she got the home rezoned into a full childcare center, moved us out, and she was up and operational. But at this point, she had me working with her all the time. So she actually let me market to her parents. I was 14, 15 to babysit on the weekend. So I started my own little mommy day out morning, $25 for 4 hours, and you can get some things done. So she let me do that as well. But, you know, I would help out in classrooms and do summer camp field trips with her. But by the time I was 16, 17, I swore that I was never going to do childcare. I was going to go to college, get my degree in marketing and work in corporate America. And I did that, but we can see how that worked out. I did not stay. So I ended up back in the childcare field.
Our kids swore they would never work at our childcare centers, and 4 out of our 5 do. So there you go. So if there's somebody listening, their kids said, I don't want anything to do with childcare business, there's hope for you. You might have your legacy continue. That's an amazing story.
Definitely some hope.
So tell us a little bit more about First Discovery, your brand that you're building.
Yeah. So First Discovery, I have 3 locations in Virginia. 2 of the centers are in Virginia Beach, and 1 location is in Newport News. We have the capacity for about 356 children, but with part-time equivalents and FTEs, it can range any way to 375, depending on how our enrollment is at any given time. We operate Monday through Friday. It's the most common type of childcare center that's out there. We do the creative curriculum, which is play-based and active learning. We care for students anywhere from 6 weeks to 12 years old. And from the beginning, I feel like I've always wanted a well-branded image. So a lot of the times when the parents would stop by to do a tour, they will always think we were a corporate center because we had some branding on our buses and our logo, and everything just seemed more, smooth and efficient, like a corporate ran center when it was actually family owned. So that's something that I really strive from in the beginning. And I think I got that from my corporate background, working in corporate America a little bit and doing those things to have a little bit more structure starting out.
And I've been to your school. And I've seen your branding and I've seen the things you've implemented, and they are top notch. I tell you, it does look like a corporate center with thousands of locations. I'm telling you, you've done it really, really good. And again, your marketing background really shows.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. We've worked really hard over the last years to kind of clean it up a little bit, make some tweaks here and there. But, I didn't want to feel like a mom and pop shop, even though we have families and, teachers that have children working there. I wanted our parents to have the feel that we are professional and we can get the job done just like one of the corporate centers down the street.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And you've always been a remote owner, even when you lived close to your schools. How'd you pull that off?
So we've been in business about 12 years. So in the beginning, I was not always a remote owner. I had to build up to that. It's basically trusting your team, right? So I had to have, over the course of 5 years, I wanted to do everything in the building. I felt like it was important for me to know how to do every job in the building. So in the beginning, I would cook, I would drive the buses, I would do admin duties, I would relieve for ratios. I would be a part of teaching and being some of the classes if I needed to. But I felt like in order to effectively run my business and not be there, I needed to know how every job was done. So if there was a problem troubleshooting, I can say it's no reason why you can't do that, because I've done it before, and here's why, and I give solutions for it. When about 6 years in, I moved to doing more things remote. It was a little challenging. It was touch and go because I would still do my daily check-ins, my pop-ups. If they called and said, Miss Sarah's here from licensing, I would jump in my car and shoot over there because, I still had my hands around them and wanted to make sure that they answered questions correctly, or, they knew where everything was at, and just tried to hold their hand. But being a remote owner, you can't be a control freak, and you have to be able to delegate and let some things go. So I knew early on, like, if I wanted to be out of the building and be able to work from home and to spend more time with my kids, I would have to give some of that control up. They have programs, and sometimes they don't do it like I would do it. But if they get it 95% right, then I'm okay with that. I'm like, we still knocked it out of the park. I may have did a little, tweak the little things here and there, but I'm okay that it was still, a success. So it's different now living in Georgia, because whereas when I lived in Virginia, I was 30 minutes away from each location. So I could just jump in my car if it was, a maintenance issue or a plumbing issue, or if I needed to go talk with a staff face to face. Being in another state, that's not possible. I'm 8 hours away now. So an 8-hour car drive or an hour and a half plane flight away. So you have to be able to let go of some of that control to be a remote owner.
Trust, right? Trust is a huge thing.
Yeah. And, I've been told my team years ago, this is how we got here, is that plan your day like I don't exist. Do not include me into any of your operational challenges. Act like Miss Victoria is not here and tell me what you would do. And so that's helped them too. So I'm like, I don't want me, if someone calls out, like, don't use me as your body in the classroom or your body in the office. What is the next solution? So I think that's helped too.
What you just said was gold.
Yes.
And I'm hoping that people rewind, go back a minute, and play that over and over again. Because I hear all the time, I'm getting sucked into the classroom. Yeah. I'm having to cover. I'm driving the bus. I'm doing breaks. You never got that call because you told your team not to give you that call.
Yeah. I mean, it was really crazy at one point because I couldn't work out. Like, I was taking my phone in the gym, and this is supposed to be my place, my self-care, my calming place where I'm supposed to work out for just an hour a day. And I would get calls and text messages, and it will be silly things that could have waited till later. So I told him, don't text me. If it's email worthy, send me an email. Only call me if it's an emergency. And so we moved away from the daily texting as well, where they text me 10 times a day. I'm like, email me because I don't get notifications right then and there. I can kind of pop back into it later. But if I'm in a space where I'm doing something else and they can pull me right back out of it, and I'm flustered. I'm like, I got to fix the solution right then and there. And sometimes I can't fix the solution right then and there. So it's been great to not have that distraction as well.
Victoria, how long did it take for those 10 interruptions to go to no interruptions? How many months did you say that happened over?
I mean, it was fairly quick. We had I'm like, listen, we gotta have a real conversation. Like, these text messages and calls are not important. I can't effectively do my job to move the company forward if you are constantly calling me and texting me if someone was out of milk, or, someone didn't show up, or it was just things that I had no control over right then and there. So they knew I was serious. I have a couple girls on my team that have been with me for over 10 years, and they know me really well. So once I said, like, hey, don't call me if it's not an emergency, they took it very serious. They were at one point, they were just scared to text me happy birthday. I'm like, look, you can text me happy birthday. I want to know, like, I care about your family and your vacation. Like, I want to hear those things. I just don't want to hear business things all throughout the day. That could be, yeah.
I get it. I love that. Love that. Love that. So this is, again, gold for our audience. I'm sure they're loving this. So you and I worked together. I was your coach for a couple of years, and we worked together doing one-on-one coaching. Can you tell our audience, like, what the importance of having a coach to bring out the best in you? What'd you get the most out of it?
Yeah, I think having a coach was so important, and still so important, especially having you as a coach. You were a colleague. You were someone in the business that can share experiences and give real advice of how to handle the situation. So Andrew and I, who's my husband, we kind of built this business together, but he had his own career. So he would sometimes dip his toe into my business, and I'm like, back it up. Like, this is great. So seeing you and Carol work together and have clear, defined lanes really, really helped us. It helped us sit down and say, okay, this is what you're responsible for, and this is what I'm responsible for. And it kind of helped us get that balance, because at one point we were all over the place, trying to work together. And a lot of times when you don't work in early childhood, you don't see the owner or the early childhood professional's perspective. And my husband, he can't see it. He only saw the parent perspective in a lot of scenarios. So it's great in that aspect. So I can have his opinion as a parent, but sometimes it's like, as a business owner of this business, that doesn't make a lot of sense to us as well. So, talking to you, Brian, was completely helpful, because some of the things that I've heard over the years that I would never try, I tried because I had a coach mentoring me along the way. So one of the things I remembered you telling me, it's like, you need to secret shop your business. I'm like, what? Okay. And I did it. And it was mind blowing, having someone else go into business and tell you, well, this director did this, her breath smelled like this, or, I didn't want to do all of these little details that you knew you could tweak to do tours. It changed our enrollment completely. Our numbers grew ever since then. Since we learned what our prospective customers were seeing on tours, we were able to tweak it a little bit better. So that was great. And then, being an entrepreneur, it's lonely at the top. It's lonely up here by yourself, because I don't have coworkers that I can vent to or share my issues to. I have to be positive all the time for my team, because I want them to be positive, for their team as well. So it's nice having a coach to talk about those things with.
That you can throw a little negative to, that you can, because I've dealt with it too. Having a coach, there's nothing you've gone through that I haven't gone through, and vice versa. We share that. And it's funny you mentioned about the mystery shopping yourself. We talk about in our book here, The Art of the Tour. A lot of people only care about the competition. They think they have the best program. They only care about the competition. And it is eye-opening mystery shopping yourself. And rule number 1, thou shalt not kid thyself. There are holes in your program. And by mystery shopping you and your competitors at the same time, an apples and apples comparison, and then asking that person, where would you take your kids? And then telling them, probably the competitor, it's like, why? And then you fix the problem. And I'm glad that you got out of it. Thank you for reminding our audience the importance of that, because it's huge. And again, that's one of the nuggets of information you could get in our book, The Art of the Tour.
And I have one more nugget from you. My part-time pricing was lower, right? And so parents were more engaged to sign their kid up for a part-time, because it was a cheaper rate. Like, now we charge more for part-time. Like, it's not going to be cheaper to get part-time if we have, it's already challenging staffing the building, but now we're going to charge you a little bit more for this convenience that you want. You want to come 2 times a week? Yeah, but it's not going to be evenly divided over our weekly tuition for that. So that was great as well. So I mean, that was a bump in revenue right there. Parents were like, well, maybe I should just go full time. I'm like, maybe you should, because these are our rates. So
These are your rates.
yeah.
I love that. And we talk about that in our book, Childcare Millionaire, the importance of surcharging. It's basically part-time is expensive to do. It's hard to manage and it messes up your payroll.
Yeah.
And I see so many people, if they're there one day a week, they're charging 20% of their full-time rate. And no, you got to charge 40% of your full-time rate for a day. If you did, add all your part-time kids, part-time should be profitable.
Yeah.
And that's how you do it. So I'm very proud of you for
they are now. They were not
they are now.
Years ago, but they are very profitable now. So
sure,
we'll take you part-time. Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you. And that's the value of coaching is finding your hidden blind spots.
Yeah.
And pigs don't know pigs stink. That's kind of a crazy analogy, meaning that you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
And when somebody else can come in and find your hidden blind spots, and it's usually you're picking up a lot of money by doing so. So, oh my God, that's gold. Thank you so much for sharing that with the audience.
Can you give the listeners some tips on how to spend less time in the center and more time working from home?
I think you have to have a clear vision, right? And you have to share that with your admin team. They have to know your vision, and you also have to empower your leaders to lead. I always tell my team, if they have a problem, don't come to me with just a problem. I need 3 solutions before you come to me, because 9 times out of 10, your solution is what I would have told you anyway. But just trying to get them to problem solve without me having to think about this answer to this question, because sometimes it's silly questions that they already know the answer to, but they're calling me for confirmation. I also encourage them to be friendly to our licensing reps and to ask questions, because I don't know all the answers. I promise I don't. Sometimes I'm learning with them as well. So if they have a specific licensing question, I'm like, just give her a call or shoot her an email, ask, is this okay? And, or what the protocol is for this. And they'll tell you, but just having that communication open with the licensing rep has helped out a lot too. And just having processes and procedures in place has been very helpful, and scenario-based protocols. So if this happens, I do this, already written down, so they can go back to, well, if this happens this day, if someone calls out or a child gets hurt or something, this is the next step that we do. So scenario-based protocols have helped out as well. And a couple of my girls that's been on my team for years, their strategy is WWVD. What would Victoria do? Yeah, so they use that a lot. I always get like a WWVD. This is what I think we should do, and I'm like, you're absolutely right. This is what I would do. And you can't micromanage. Being a remote owner, you can't be at every location at every minute of the day to make sure this was handled the way you would have handled it. I just think a lot of training, open communication about what's going on in the building always helps. And they were hired to do the job, and you have to let them do the job that they were hired for. You hired them to run your program. You felt confident enough in them. Let them do their job. So.
Perfect answer. Absolutely love it.
And we have a mindset question for you. What's your favorite mindset book?
Ooh, that's pretty tough for me, just because I do a lot of podcasting and the John Maxwell quotes and Trent Shelton and Sarah Jake Roberts or Ed Milet. So I listen to a lot of different podcasts to get my mindset flowing, but also just engaging with my team on a day-to-day basis, even if they have any negativity come out of them. We often try to redirect that and try to find a positive in it so they can spill it out to their team. I know years ago I had one director, and she was upset about a task that she was given, and she went to vent to her assistant director. And I pulled her to the side because I walked by and her. I'm like, you can't vent to her like that. That is not the person you vent to. If we're trying to move this procedure forward and continue doing things this way, you're shooting yourself in the foot. I'm like, if you want to vent to your husband at home. Do not vent to your assistant director that you're telling to go out and tell the teachers to do the specific task that we need to do for the business. So I'm a good podcaster. I like to listen to different podcasts.
You're putting the positive in, and so I find that people that are real busy tend to be more podcaster, and people that can slow down are more on the reader side. I like podcasts better than I like books too. Yeah, because books, when we're on vacation in an island, I could read a book.
Right.
But when I'm back home, I'd rather podcast because I could do that while I'm driving. Or an audiobook. Audiobooks are the same thing. It's just it's hard for me to sit down in my home and read a book. But when I'm sitting on a beach, I could read.
Yeah, I'm usually my kids know my podcast by now. They're like, "Oh, this lady again." Yeah, this guy again. We're on the way to soccer practice. I'm like, "All right, let's listen to this," and they're like, "Fun."
Let's listen to Brian Duprey again.
Right,
Carol Duprey.
Fun, Miss Victoria. We're gonna be a childcare owner too one day. Great.
Start them early,
right.
Victoria.
Exactly.
So each week, we read a question for somebody who needs mentoring. We get questions all the time. And Rosie from Louisiana sent us a question. We saved it from you, Victoria. Dear Brian and Carol, how do I tell my staff to leave me alone when I'm in my office working on payroll? I'm constantly being interrupted and end up having to take my work home with me. How would you suggest that Rosie handle that situation?
Hey, Rosie. So I think it's a boundary issue. I think your staff does not respect the boundaries you set in place. So maybe you need to set those expectations, because I would assume that she wouldn't go into their classrooms while they're doing a lesson plan to ask them a question. So the same respect should be reciprocated when they have a question. So I would just set a scheduling system in place. When you're working on payroll or any important task, put a do not disturb sign on the door. And have them start scheduling time to speak with you, because it's a boundaries thing. I remember in the beginning, I would have staff members text me about when's the next holiday that we're off. And I'm like, it's Saturday night at 10 o'clock. I don't know, and I don't care right now. Like, I just want to watch, a TV show and relax. And you're asking me about the next vacation day or holiday. So I think it's important to set the tone, set a schedule. If you want to talk to me about time off or something else, then let's schedule that. And if it's a true emergency, interrupt me. Like I need to know right then and there. But if it's not important and it can wait, let's schedule that time.
Perfect answer. Love that. This has been an amazing podcast interview, Victoria. You have some of the nuggets you have dropped are really going to help our audience and our listeners, the 3.2 million people that follow our podcast. All right, I might be exaggerating just slightly. But I'm telling you, thank you so much, because people are going to be impacted. You're changing lives with this goal. They're going to have more time freedom, and time is the one thing you can't buy. It's the great equalizer, and you've just given people more time, and they're going to be so thankful. Time, you giving them more time is more important than me teaching them how to have more money. Because you could always make more money, but you can never make more time, except if you do what Victoria told you to do. You will have more time. So thank you for joining the Childcare Genius podcast. We're going to have you again on in the future. And thank you so much. And say hi to Andrew for us. And we'll talk to you next time.
Thank you for having me.
Victoria is an amazing business owner.
Yeah, she really knows her stuff. And I love how she delegates. She's not afraid to let her team, she empowers them to make decisions. And that is so important. She trusts people. And she was like that before she moved. She moved down south, and when I went and visited her schools many years ago, and she was running them remotely, even living in the same area. So she's great. And I just love coaching her. She's such a phenomenal person. And how would you like to be coached by Carol and I? We are looking for couples that want to hang out with us in the Caribbean next year on a tax-deductible workation. As everybody knows, we like to go to the Caribbean. We've been to Jamaica 33 or 34 times. And so we love hanging out at the beach. We figured might as well bring some couples with us so we could have fun hanging out with friends and make it a tax deductible trip for all of us.
You can spend a week with us and other childcare couples in a very small setting with a lot of individualized attention and coaching.
So if you would like more information, just visit childcaregenius.com/workation for more information. And that is WORKATION. So childcaregenius.com/workation for more information. Base is extremely limited. We're only taking a couple couples per trip. We're going to be going to Sandals, Montego Bay in Jamaica in January. And I think it's the second week of January. And we're going to Sandals, Royal Barbados in the country of Barbados in March. And that's the very end of March into the first week of April. And they're amazing trips. They're for couples only. And because Sandals is a couples only resort. And we're looking for couples that build business together and who can go to our, can work, and we'll help work with them and help their business grow and do some individualized coaching and help them grow their business and work better as a team. You know, we're a husband-wife team. We want to work with other husband and wife teams as well. So this concludes episode 4 of the Childcare Genius podcast. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you don't miss a future episode. And we will see you again real soon.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to the Childcare Genius podcast. If you enjoyed the show, please do us a favor and hit the subscribe button so you won't miss a future episode. Don't forget to visit our website at childcaregenius.com to see a list of services we offer to help your childcare business grow. Until next time, thank you for being a part of the Childcare Genius community.